We are Maria
and Anna-Liisa,
and we're part of the Italian Product Group community where we have this little section in our podcast to just rant about
product stuff.
Yeah, product management stuff. No script, no filters. So
if that's not your thing, then probably should quit now.
Yeah, otherwise, grab a cup of coffee.
Yes.
And have a rant with us.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about becoming a people leader.
Mm-hmm.
You asked me about what is a people leader when we started discussing what to speak.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean, people leader? Are we talking product management? Yeah. What did you mean, people leader?
So, people leader, meaning that even though you're a matrix people manager anyway, like you have your whole product team that you're meant to influence through inspiration and other means, but you're not their direct manager. Many product managers actually aspire to be people managers also, so they would have direct reports. And since we started talking about it with Maria, we realized that our paths to the roles of people management and our motivations are completely different. So I think that we probably are able to cover both sides or two potential paths. So if you are an aspiring people leader, you want to lead people, you want to be a team manager, for whatever reason, and we can maybe dive into the reasons of why each of us became one and what it felt like. Maybe you get some inspiration and maybe you get a strategy or a hint of how to go about it next.
Or you should even go about it, because I think that's one of the things we're going to uncover while we discuss the topic, which is should you be a people leader? Are you ready to be a people leader? And what does it really mean? So it is true what you said, that even without the dreams of growth, to have people reporting to you as a product manager, there's people all over. And so you do have to have your people management skills, which is why I guess the topic of stakeholder management is usually so hot, so requested, so discussed. So even if you're not going after a formal promotion where you have people reporting to you, there are people management skills you have to be good at product management, which is not the same. And I'd like your take on this, because I think both of us are extroverted, but I don't think it's the same to say that you need to be extroverted or a people's person, right? And there's a lot of smart and great product managers who are able to get their message across without being the bubbly type, which I think a lot of people mixed up with kind of requirement to be a people manager.
I'm actually an introvert, and the fun fact is introverts can learn extroverted ways. So you just have to pick and choose when you are extroverted. And I became extroverted, in fact, because of my career as a people manager. I could not, hide in my corner and do my product management stuff. Just deal with stakeholders.
But I think one thing is shyness, and another thing is introversion or extroversion. Like, I think I've gone the opposite direction. I've been my whole life an extroverted and slowly going into the introvert without fully being an introverted side. Kind of an ambivert, I like to call myself. Understanding that you don't have to put your energy out there all the time, loud and clear, but to get things done as a product manager, you have to ask information from people and give information to people on a regular basis. So you need to find a way that works for you and your energy and communication style. So you don't have to be an extroverted, but you do have to send messages across over and receive over and over again. There's a lot of information exchange between different people and departments.
Yeah, and when you are a product manager already, then you probably know this and you've learned some of it. Now, when you become a people manager, then it adds an extra layer. There is more in-depth information that you need to receive and convey in order to be successful. Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it'd be good to start with what you sort of said before, which is why did we even end up being people's managers or not? And that in my case it was accidental, which is ironic because I've had a lot of colleagues who wanted to be promoted to be people's managers. And I was never actively chasing it. It is the same story in how I entered product management, which I've shared with you and in some of our podcast episodes before as well, which was I'm doing a job as a supportive role, and then I officially apply for a role, and then I get back from the manager like, you should be a product owner. And I'm like, what? Why? What's that? So you're applying for this role, but we think you're better for this one. And I'm like, okay, so I took their word for it. I didn't know why they thought I was good for it. I didn't know what the role was. And so that's where a whole period of growth and learning came my way, because I took that opportunity, but I also knew it was going to come with a lot of asking questions, not just from the company and the people that I was working with, but also from the world, Googling, reading, going to sort of, I don't know, trainings and whatnot. And when I think this was 2012, when I think about when I got promoted to people, well, that first role was one of those where they say you shouldn't mix them. But I was at one point the people's manager of the team where I was also the product owner, which people say there can be conflicts of interest.
Oh, for engineers then?
Yes.
Interesting.
So I had never done that, but again, I took it. And so I was the product owner of the team and the people's manager of the team.
And the asterisk there is that back then, product owner was product manager, essentially, because the kind of sense of ownership, it was a scrum role also, but because in the companies at that point, and at least in Estonia, there was no kind of role that combines business and kind of the engineering as much as product ownership did. So we kind of name that a product manager job also, because it was only after that a couple of years when product ownership and product management started being told apart.
Yeah, although I wasn't really responsible for creating a full roadmap. I was more managing a backlog, and the roadmap was dictated by business owners. Like, in that sense, it was like your typical sort of Scrum setup. I did have some sort of decision making and ideation based on what the business owners wanted, and then what I would gather from experimenting and testing and gathering customer feedback. Then I would implement it into the backlog, but it was a backlog. I didn't think of a roadmap. But the funny thing was that, fast forward 5 years after that, I had been working for a couple of years as a product manager in a team where I didn't have any people manager responsibilities. And I was like offered to become a people's manager, a manager of product managers. And I kept on just going back to, I'm not ready, but you're ready. No, let me finish, complete that, prove that, and then I'll be ready. The typical story of, you have to meet 100% of the requirement. And I met probably 90% of the requirements. And then when I had achieved them and I still was saying no, which is why I say, in a way, I became a people manager kind of against my own will. The fear, some people would say, of growth or whatever. And then my manager was like, but you've done the things. What are we waiting for now? Like, why? I think you're ready. I was like, okay, let's do it. And somehow it was ironic that I had more experience than 5 years before, but I was less ready to just take something as it comes. Like, yeah, go for it. I was a little bit, what they say, the more you know, the more you realize what you don't know. And I think that's what was happening to me. It was more of I now know the responsibility that it means to be a people's manager. And while I appreciated the world wanted me to do it because they felt I could do a good job, I felt a huge weight on my shoulders. But I did it anyway. I accepted it, and that's how I ended up every time in people management roles, promoted, because someone thought that I was going to be good at it because I was already displaying things. And that's always the question of, like, are managers born or managers made? I don't want to say that I was born a manager, because when I go back to my university and even childhood years, I was just constantly exposed to activities that develop leadership skills. Like I was a Girl Scout. You're taught there to work in teams, and you have a leader, and if you want to get those leadership roles, you have to earn the badges. Literally, like you literally do things to get badges in your uniform. And at university, I took extra leadership courses and whatnot. So I guess in a way I was made, but there was an inclination and an interest, even if I didn't verbally set it. And I guess that translated into, hey, you have these skills.
But I think that's a very important point here, that it's not that you wake up one day, and your story is actually what I always dreamed of, that somebody would recognize something in me and would comment, say that, you should be a people leader, which never happened until I took it upon myself to actually learn to be one. But being a people leader, it takes time and effort. It's not that you just get promoted for a very good product management job. It just does not happen. Yes, a part of product management, of course, is people leadership, but I think that there's more to it. And if you want to be one, then take the small opportunities that are maybe elsewhere or in your job to mindfully and strategically practice these things, because it's not that you become a people leader and now you're able to do this.
And let's take a pause right there on what you said. Okay, so you don't wake up, and then even if you already have some skills that you're applying as a product manager, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
Why? No. Why is it not the same? My guess is that when you're the product manager, you're representing the needs of the business through the product, and then the client, right? There's still a lot of people you have to satisfy, but for the most part, the core of everything is the product, and all the other relationships are supporting that, but they're not the core of the job. The target is not those people's management activities. They are mediums through which to get to the product decisions, right? But then when you're a formal people's manager, first, your responsibility becomes more obvious towards the company. You're representing the company interest, but a lot of people think that you're representing the people's interests.
I am.
And you are supporting them, but you are, for the most part, someone who is representing the business, which is the same thing that happens with HR.
Yes.
Like, oh, but HR is not support. HR is there to represent the interest of the business.
So in a way, it's still product management. However, not to sound bad, but your team are tools to make that business successful. It's not, yes, to a certain extent, you still represent your team also, but if you only represent your team in your head, you're going to have a lot of conflict with the rest of the stakeholders, because it's a fine balance.
Yeah, and I think that's what I feel when I describe the weight of my shoulders, because I care about people.
Yes.
I care about people feeling good, using their potential, being satisfied with what they do. But I also understand the responsibility towards the company that I have in a manager's role. So you literally find yourself in the middle, and there's nothing more difficult, I think, than being, at least for me, than being a middle manager. You are literally in the middle of sometimes expectations that are like pulling in the opposite direction.
And 90% of the time they are, because you're now not only the product manager of that one product and those those stakeholders for that one product. You have all of these different products that need to work together. These people need to want to work on their own product, but also together. And then they need to work together with the stakeholders, and you need to work together with the stakeholders, and it's a mess because everybody wants something different.
Exactly. And so that means, and that's one part where you can become a leader, but it requires a lot of exposure to life experiences to then hone the character, because you need to have a character where you find that sweet spots between remaining human and understanding your direct reports are people and your managers are people and everybody has different needs, but you're also meant to do a job and deliver some results. And so, drawing that line. And if you want to be a people's manager, ask yourself, what kind of leader and manager do I want to be? And how am I navigating life right now in a way that displays that? Because if you ask me, there's a lot of situations in which I want to be on the people's side, and I know it's not good for the business. And when I've done that, you feel like you're already running a political career rather than a business career. And I'm not meant for politics at all, at all. And on the other side, sometimes you understand the business side and you make it clear to your team, and the disappointment. If you can sleep at night with that, because I had a lot of trouble sleeping. So again, the fact that you're good at something doesn't mean you should be doing that. So if you ask me, I'm not dying to going back and being a people's manager again, because it's an energy I am not ready to put there if I want to execute it at the level I think should be done. I don't know, what's your experience after having sort of, fought for becoming a leader? If you discover anything that was like, oh my God, I'm out of here, or if you were like, yeah, this is my job.
Oh, no. After my first position as a people manager, I was like, I am not cut out for this. The first year was pure horror. I thought that I thought that I'm brilliant at product management. I'm going back there. I'm an individual contributor, because by then individual contributors already were a thing. When I first dreamed of becoming a people leader, it was mostly because this was the only step forward in my career, and I'm all for growth, and I like learning something new. And my first position was horror. But now I don't think I want to go back, because I put a lot of effort into becoming the leader that I want to be. Okay, let's dive into my story then, because mine's weird. I do not have naturally the empathy or the people leadership kind of skills. I think that I have naturally a product manager type of mindset, and I am very good at if I don't have the resources, getting the resources. So that sometimes means rolling over other departments or whatever it takes. I get things done, and the kind of business then blooms. But then when you add people to the mix, you can't exactly steamroll over people. I had managers that I could demand things from as a product manager. I said that if you want these kinds of business results, I need this, this, and this. Then all of a sudden, I was the person that they demanded things from. And I was like, how dare Anyway, I wanted to become a people manager. I'd worked as a product owner, and perhaps it was different in different roles or in different companies, because we had business managers, yes, but they mostly dealt with pricing and kind of not really taking ownership of the whole business. It was product owners that took ownership of some of the business results more almost than the service managers that we had. So I was a product owner at that point, but I had a lot of responsibility in delivery, but also delivery of business results. I'd done that for several years, and I thought that maybe the next step could be people leadership. Why? Because I had the most amazing manager when starting in this product role, or rather, the first role was development manager, but we were doing already like kind of product stuff. And he really, I don't know, the best word is nurtured, because he never kind of dictated what I should be doing. He supported whatever kind of direction I was growing, and it was amazing. And then he left the company, and I was presented with somebody who I thought that was more junior than I was as my manager. And I still sorry for my attitude at the time, but I thought that I could do much better than they could at the time. And so I thought that I wanted to be a people manager, not out of, like, I wasn't in pain to be one for myself, but rather I didn't want to be managed by a certain type of person.
Okay.
And there was a future leaders program in that company. It was kind of like a training program where you could learn coaching and other skills that you would benefit from as a people manager. And I applied. There were several rounds of like interviews and presentations and whatnot. And by the end of it, I was one of the only 2 people that got left out of that program. And after pestering the person that was running the program, somebody else gave me the feedback that some people are just meant to be specialists and never people managers.
All right.
And I was so hurt by this. And I believed that for a very long time, that some people, maybe I am that kind of person, that I'm meant to be an individual contributor. But then I thought that I have to, in order to find that out, I have to try it. But I did realize that based on the feedback that I got from there, that maybe I'm lacking some of the kind of personal traits because of how I am. Like I explained it, when there's a goal, I'm quite determined. I have the eye patches on and it's straight ahead until it's done. And maybe I need to learn to look around at the same time, that it's not only the goal. And thanks to a former colleague of mine who happened to have a role in his team that would be a people manager, I actually got my first people manager job. And it was purely kind of trust. Because I don't think that they knew like what I would be or could be capable of. And I took it really, I took it so seriously. I took it as it's such a big thing that somebody would trust me, because I had dreamt of it for years by then. And because I took it so seriously for the first year, I was drowning in all of the added layer of personal problems that was thrown at me from like day one. People just, like, for example, I never thought of the fact that people would be bickering with each other and I needed to interfere. And
mediate.
I was so shocked, and it while you say that the politics lays heavy on you, I'm all fine with the Game of Thrones, but the what goes on inside the team, and some people don't get along, and some things are said, and it was so foreign to me. I was like, but we have a goal. Why are we all
focused on this?
Yes. Why are we wasting our time? And I remember after my first year, I was so burned out.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to keep the whole goal and vision and strategy like together, but it was falling apart because the team of people were falling apart because I was unable to mediate.
Yeah.
It was just I had a choice whether I now take a breath and try to understand how this happens or why this happens, or that people are much different than I am, or I just go back to being a product manager. And as life happens, life did not let me go back to being a product manager, but rather even a step up to a C-level, where I had yet another layer thrown at me, which is actual business results in terms of the whole company, not just like a certain product area. And I think there, like I became so overwhelmed that some of the things started falling through the cracks, which was good because that let me find my balance in a way between managing the people and people's like personal stuff and the strategy. I remembered that while people are very important, it also has to somehow convert into business results.
Exactly. Yeah. I actually came to that realization at the highest role that I had because so it was one layer up from that one I mentioned in 2017. And I sat there and I told myself, the way I've been managing my time and energy is not going to work in this second layer. And I don't think a lot of people ask themselves that. Like, they ask themselves, how can I get the role? How can I be more important? How can I get paid more? But are they asking themselves, what am I good at? Which is why I'm given this opportunity. But what am I missing, or what do I need to do differently?
Yeah.
Because the way you use your time, your energy, the activities that you do are completely different the higher the role is. And I remember there and sitting and asking myself, okay, as a product manager, these were my priorities. As a manager of product managers, these were my priorities. What happens now that I'm a manager of managers? And it took a lot of trial and error. And again, that comes with being given the trust, right?
Yeah.
If you've never done the role and you're given the opportunity, in a way, you're being trusted that you're going to be able to, you bring in some things to the table, but you're also ready to learn others. And that's when I started thinking about what activities are strategic and focused on working and collaborating with my other department peers, right? Versus which are tactical. How much time do I need to invest in people? Because we make the mistake of over investing sometimes, especially if if you were like me. I was very people driven back then, and I would over invest in people that I thought require attention, but sometimes people need to be left alone. And yeah, they need some clear guidance maybe, but I over invested in being there, holding hands. And that meant I wasn't investing time in my relationships and strategic planning with my peers from other departments. And that came later. But I think it came the tough way. It didn't come naturally, it didn't come easily. And I appreciate my obsession with reflection and asking myself, is this working or not? Because I don't think anyone was telling me, you're not investing enough time in this. Of course, it probably came through some company trainings and whatnot, and maybe some of those events planted questions in me. I was like swallowing leadership books and videos and like crazy. And of course, many of them tell you different things. And so you have to pick what you believe resonates again with the question, with your answer to the question of what kind of manager and leader do I want to be? But it is another level, the way you describe it, when you move to that. And you understand that you're still just one person. Now your range of impact and responsibility is much bigger, but you're still that one person.
Yeah, let me ask you another question. How rough was it when you realized that now it's just you managing yourself and a lot of people? Because for me, it was a rough fall, realizing that there is no manager kind of above me anymore.
I mean, on one hand, I never reached the place where I didn't have a manager above me. So I was in C-level.
Yes.
I was one level below C-level.
But still, you have to manage yourself.
Yes,
kind of.
you're still your big girl. You're a big girl, and it's your problem. Go cry in the bathroom, figure it out. I mean, I always had very supportive manager. One, two crazy people maybe there that sort of kind of drove me crazy. But for the most part, I had very supportive managers. But you know what's funny? I realized that this was going to be a lonely place before I took that next promotion.
I never did.
I did because I had just seen it so much, and I was like, it's lonely up there, isn't it? And that's the reason why I left in the end, because the loneliness started to feel stronger over time.
You know, my, I would say, almost fatal mistake in thinking was that I thought that being a people leader or even like a C-level manager, that meant that I would be surrounded by people of like some caliber, or that they're there because of merit.
Struggling and busy with their own thing.
Yes, and that was a shock to me, because I always I'm a snob. I'm a nerd when it comes to product management, and I enjoy people who are nerds in their own area.
Yeah.
And I imagined that if I get up there, I'm surrounded by nerds. But actually, people just have their own stuff.
Yeah, and everybody has equally important, big, valid questions to solve.
Yes.
And you're there all in the room, sort of asking the questions, challenging each other, realizing we're not going to solve this. That's your area. You go figure it out. Thank you for letting us know. We now know you're struggling with that, and now we know you have to figure it out, but it's your job to figure it out.
Exactly.
It is like, oh, damn. So you have a group to kind of discuss, but you never get to the details.
Yes.
To the details.
Yeah.
And then you have these leadership offsites, which are like exhausting, but you never ever, even if you get deeper than in your regular, monthly or weekly check-ins or whatever they are, you never ever get as deep as you thought you were.
You never get the answers.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was actually missing from the hands-on product manager role. You always went to the details. Although I don't consider myself a detail-oriented person. You could get to the thing. And I remember I had a manager who said, "You're the kind of person who likes crossing things out of a list. So you need to sort of, just get things done." And in some of these roles, the higher you are, you don't get the feeling because your done thing is having an influential conversation with someone, sitting at the meeting and gathering the right data to then distribute it, coming up with an abstract concept that is transformed into something more actionable by your team, not by yourself. Maybe coming up with a slide or two that kind of visualizes what you're trying to say. And that's the most tangible thing that you do, but you don't get the feeling of it's done. I built this.
Or creating the vision and evangelizing your whatever that is. It's not something that you can grasp, and it's no longer like a room and your team and data from the users and something that that you need to build now. It's something kind of out of your grasp. You're there and you're kind of trying to measure whether everything is coming together or not, but there are no concrete kind of KPIs. Exactly. Yes, there are certain ones, but the stuff in between, whether the teams are working well together, whether you understood the other area well enough, whether you conveyed the message that they need to now take care of this, whether they are taking care of this or they're burnt out and they're just saying that they are.
There's a lot of organizational management. So you think you're going to be a people's person, so you're going to be taking care of people 1, people 2, people... No, you're taking care of the dynamics between people 1 and 3 and 4, between 5 and 3, between this team and this gap. Is there a gap here? Is there enough performance over there? So you have to start looking at things in a more systematic way, and how the skills and the personalities sort of mix with one another. And that's actually a muscle to train. You know, unless you're a natural systems thinker. Yes. For me, I wasn't a natural systems thinker, and I had to be aware of, I'm lacking the skill. I need to find a way to look at things. And I remember, because I'm very kinesthetic, sitting with one of my managers where we're talking about reorganizing things in the teams. And I was like literally cutting out he laughed when he came into the room. I needed his input. and I had little faces cut out to move around because that's the only way that I could see the dynamic thing moving.
Like for me, it's all in my head, and I explain it to people, and I'm like, why can't you understand? So I end up cutting stuff.
For me, it's super hard to understand what's in my own head. So I needed to put the little papers and things. So again, these are things that I think a lot of people who want to be people manager don't think about, that they're going to have to be responsible for. It's not that just that you're like the big boy or the big girl who has to go cry in the room alone and figure it out on their own. It's also that you're going to have to think and worry about completely different things that you didn't understand until you had to be in front of them, and they start sort of pulling you away from product, right? Which was a question we ask ourselves. What happens when you become a people's manager in the product area or whatever department for that matter? How much product work are you actually doing?
Not a lot. And I came to realize that unless I have my sort of side project, like in my free time in building something, because I'm a builder, in my heart, I'm a horrible micromanager, because I'm like, oh, why don't I help you with this little thing that I now see from the big picture that needs like some things, but I need to let people do their own thing. I need to guide them. I need to empower them. I need to let things happen. So I need to build something on the side that isn't to do with the work stuff. But how much product management or product engineering development do you get to do? None at all, almost.
Well, you know how I actually ended up satisfying that need for myself, but also thinking in a way that was useful for the teams. Again, it didn't come as a straight line. It came with trial and error. It was like I could do the big high-level research that they usually have a hard time to do, to connect the dots. So for example, if you were managing a team that was maybe responsible for billing and different payment types, and then you had another team that was responsible for managing user types, then you could sort of research trends overall to see how they could support each other, make them aware, which was a lot of the work too. Like you want the teams to focus on their area, but not so much that they get derailed and kind of like build the product in a way that is disconnected. And so that's like another challenge. Like you have to make sure. So that's the one side in which you are thinking about product. But again, it depends on, are you a manager of product managers at that level? There's still a lot of that. But once you're a manager of managers, it gets a lot harder. Now you're thinking business KPIs and like, you know, deadlines and how much resources how much time we spend discussing hires and interview processes and promotions. Nobody tells you this. You're going to spend so much time with HR discussing all these things. Who's going to get promoted? Who cannot get promoted? What's going on with this person's performance? Why is this does this person like, can they get what they're asking for? Because you're going to have people asking you all the time because they think it's just on you, but there's a whole system, a budget. Yes, but they're hiring in that department. Why aren't we hiring here? And how the whole sort of department budgets move. You cannot just move a head count from marketing to product manager just because you see there's a gap now. It doesn't work that way. There's accounting rules and whatnot. And again, all those things. And that's the part where you realize, yeah, some things are going to fall through the cracks because the width of topics is just so much. And you said something when you were sharing your story, which I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking, I can do it better. Because you don't like your manager, I can do it better. Can you though? Watch out what you say, because until you haven't done it, you don't know if you can do it better. I mean, you might be able to do it differently, but you won't know.
Exactly. Have hypotheses in what you can do better, but also have hypotheses in where you will fail.
And have humility. Because even if you don't like your manager, I think we all have the right to kind of say we don't like something about our managers. We don't feel supported enough, or we feel too pressure. And I think that's our job when we're the ones reporting to someone. Like we have a role there too. Demand what we need, say when it's too much. Like you're asking me to do all these things. This is my capacity. Make them aware so they can make a better decision. If they still suck at it, the only thing you can know is that they suck at it. But you cannot know if you're going to be better or different or in what ways. And you can do that, hypothesize, because you're not in their shoes. You don't understand the context behind it until you've done it.
Yeah, and another thing is be curious about what is on their table. If you want to be in their shoes, even if you think that you could do a better job, be curious. What are the things that they are currently suffering from or dealing with on a daily basis? Because ask them. That's the only way to learn. If you think that you have better ideas in certain areas, sure, suggest. But learn from them.
Yeah, a lot of people want to be promoted, and because it's not a straightforward path, they start treating their manager as their enemy.
Yes.
You're in the same company. You're a team. And what you're saying, I think, is the smart way to go. Get curious. Sit with them. See what you can learn. Many times when you want to grow vertically, they recommend that you move to other companies. If you want to grow up, it's better to move sideways rather than within the same company, because physics, it's very physics. How much space do you have in a pyramid at the top, right?
Yeah.
And how many people want to do and grow in the same way you do? But that doesn't mean you cannot get curious and learn and understand the context of where you are.
Yeah. And I completely agree. That's what my career has been. That I was needed as a people manager in another company, in another context, for another type of team. And in hindsight, I completely agree. I don't think I was a good fit in that company where I first initially wanted to be. It was just a different type of set of people, products, complexity that I never understood back then. I understand now, looking from the outside in, but I didn't know what was going on at the same time. And what I learned from that also is, or what my path is, that there are types of people that I'm a good manager for, and other types that I am not a good fit for. So be very aware of which types of people need you and which types of people need something else, and are you able to deliver the results with these people, or maybe you're not the right person in that seat.
Context, yeah.
I have said one time that I resigned because I think that that position needed project managers rather than product managers, and I was not able to deliver results like that because I'm a product manager. I'm unable to kind of think in less dimensions. While in project management, the timing and the budget are like front and center. I cannot overlook business value or whether the other pieces in the system are working in order to deliver something. I just can't. So yeah.
And some things you can learn. But other things are gonna, even if you can learn them, are gonna take so much time and energy that it's not worth it. There's always that recommendation that, do you work on your gaps or do you work on making your strengths even more strong? Right? And the second beat is better. Like, it goes back to the whole, are we born or are we made? I mean, I am the one who believes that we can learn and relearn many things. It's just that sometimes learning and relearning certain things are going to be harder than just getting better at what you're naturally good at. And sometimes being a people manager is not the thing we're meant to be doing.
And being a people manager, you can be different, because I think that me and Maria, probably we have very different management styles, but at the same time, if we were to work side by side in a company, we would complement each other a lot. However, it would take a lot of work with ourselves, or which I guess through our friendship we've done anyway, to get curious, because we are conflicting in certain ways, and we approach things in a completely different way. So.
But then the way we do this is we put this on the table. Like, we've asked ourselves, like, in this thing we've been doing together, what works, what doesn't, what do you like, what you don't. We understand where we complement each other and where there may be a conflict. Maybe we're able to change ourselves, but we're much more understanding because we've put this on the table. And I think we sometimes forget about this with our managers or with our teams. Just put things on the table. Like discussing expectations is so important, and reviewing them every once in a while, because we change, context change. Things are never like static and the same forever. Even after a couple of months, things will change a lot. And so the best thing is put things, expectations, and your understanding of the situation on the table, but also ask from the others, from your manager, from your teammates, from your direct reports, from your peers in other managerial positions. And that actually is going to help a lot, rather than filling in the gaps or assuming this person is not doing their job, or they're lazy, or they never finish things, or they're like so annoying, always going into the I have the next point to make, I'm so smart, but never get to completion. Instead of making those comments in our heads or with other colleagues behind the coffee machine, just face them, put them on the table. Maybe some of those things will change. They were not aware. You will discover that a lot of people would appreciate, as long as we're smart about asking these questions and giving this feedback. And sometimes they will remain the same, but just because we're aware, we'll learn to manage them so much, much better. So,
and chances are actually the stuff that annoys you, it could mean that the other person is actually better than you at certain areas, which you might happen to hate doing. Which is the case, like in our case, that I am good at certain things and Maria's good at the other part. Honestly, I can't do what she does.
And I can't be just as curious and innovative, crazy like she is. So
maybe you team up with either vertically or with your team.
Yeah. So you see, you start seeing someone else's strengths that you don't have or that you lack, instead of as competition and something that rubs you the wrong way. You see it as a nice compliment to the work you do as a team.
You know, the hardest part was learning that I am successful if somebody from my team is better than me at certain things. It was a harsh fall because I felt kind of like, what kind of a manager am I if I can't do it, do that as well as they can? But actually, I'm happy that they are CPOs somewhere now. I was there for their journey, but was I a little bit hurt at that time? Yes. Now I don't think anymore. But the first real time I realized that that was also the day that I realized that's the kind of manager that I want to be.
Okay.
Whatever empowerment means to you, but I actually like that.
Yeah, for me it was always very different. I kind of always saw that as a people's manager, there were always people in the team that were way smarter than me, and the question was, how can I support them the best way, and not feel threatened by that. I actually sometimes think I could have become a better product manager if I didn't go into people's managers so quickly. But then again, that probably goes back to the same thing I'm saying about strengths and weaknesses. My strength was natural people manager. Other people saw it and they put me in it. And maybe I was never meant to become a great product manager. I think I was a good product manager, but I don't think I was great. And I think they were great people. And most of the times I became great at a job, not out of having the particular skill to maybe innovate and wireframe and connect technologies, but just because I went deep into the topic. I really wanted to understand the clients. I really wanted to understand. I always came with the mindset of the beginner. And because it was the case, like, what do I know about loans? Nothing. Show me everything. What do I know about sales? Nothing. Show me everything. So every product that I had to manage was like, I know nothing about this area. So you come with this beginner mindset, and then you start and take it seriously and go deep, and then connect it to people. And in the end, that's what made me a good product manager. Now, could I be and become the one that has worked maybe in fintech for 15 years and they've worked at, I don't know, maybe 5 different types of companies and stages, and they know the ins and outs of financial loans, for example? No. And that's a completely different path. And it's good to be aware of what we are and what we're not. And this applies to anything in life, not just product management. It kind of makes your life, you start like like riding through life smoothly, when you know where you're strong at, what you can learn that is going to be manageable for you to learn, and what you better stay away from.
Yes. And where you need help. Because why I felt like that when that first person was kind of better than me was not because I was jealous. It was because I felt like as a manager, I should be able to, provide support and be that much better than everybody else. And I didn't think of asking a mentor, for example. I could be curious in product management, but I couldn't be curious, or I could be curious, but not to a point where I was at the same level, because I felt like if I am not the rock, then who is?
But imagine, I think, way now that I think about it, maybe it's a conflict that people who manage people in their same role have.
Yeah.
It's a much more common conflict to have, but it's much harder to have as a conflict when the people you manage are different roles, which was the case of that first management I had, where I had a QA engineer, I had 5 engineers, I had a business analyst, and I wasn't any of those things. I wasn't a QA engineer, I wasn't a software engineer, I wasn't a business analyst, but I had to manage them. And so I went into the world asking myself the question, what value do I add to these people if I am not the expert in the skills? And although it was a very scary experience, I think it gave me that. Because I think if I had been put in a position where I'm going to be promoted for the first time to be a people manager of other people who do the same job as I do, you start having those questions. How, because you're supposed to know it, but you cannot be all. Even if you're a software engineer, you cannot be an engineering manager that understands all the technicalities of all the software engineers there are, right? So it's interesting because, becoming a people's manager then is not so much about managing these people's skill sets. You can understand where they are, how to measure their performance, but you cannot be their mentor. Right? You cannot always be their mentor, and your job is to enable for them the tools, the context, and the other supportive people that could be there for them. Which is why I think, when companies do these programs of cross-department, cross-team mentorships, mentee mentors, then they overcome that gap, right? But I guess it's different if you've always seen the same roles and get promoted to manage people in the role. You might have that confusion.
Yeah, but you're braver than I am, because I would have never, I think, accepted the role, because I
don't think I was brave. I think I was just stupid. Like, let's just do everything, and it went well, but
because my illusion was that I have to become the best of the best, and then somebody out there will see my potential, and that, because I thought that if I was a very good specialist, then that's how you become a people leader. So I was doomed from the start.
That's a very common mistake, though. Like, if I'm very good at the thing, but if you think about it, if I'm going to be building tables, I'm gonna be good at building tables. I'm going to understand the materials, the cutting machines, the space, the protective gear. But if I'm going to be managing people who build tables, it's the people that I need to know about, not the tables. Maybe a little bit about the tables can help me, but your target of focus is different. But it's natural we all make that mistake at one point. I thought I was just going to become a very good business analyst. Look at me now. I think you can do better business analysis
diagrams, you mean?
Yes, than I can. I don't remember any of this at this point in life. So I don't know. I think we can start sort of wrapping it up. Thinking of what are some of the good points we've covered. Being a product manager has some elements of being a people manager.
Yes, but it's not about product management. It's more about the business and the systems thinking that includes the psychology of people, not just the users and the team members, but kind of the everyday stuff, the promotions and the salary raises and
And if you want to grow, yes, companies make it hard by most times only creating opportunities of growth where you are forced to become a people manager. So companies, please become more open with the idea of creating growth paths for people that don't require to become a people manager, that kind of can grow in the area of expertise. Because I think that's another problem. Some people, sometimes people want to grow and they see that's like, it's my only way to do it. They don't even want to, but it's my only way.
And one thing, if you are hiring your first product manager, companies, please don't imagine that these people will naturally become people leaders and strategic leaders also. It is not something that you just grow into. You need a sponsor. You need a good example. This needs to happen strategically. And if the person wants it and not just says that they want it, but actually take steps to learn the skills that are needed. Because I've seen so many bad situations in my work now where a very good product manager is hired and then all of a sudden expectations rise. They need to become people leaders. They're specialists. They're very, very good product managers. They don't know how to handle, especially the early stage chaos. They don't know what product strategy looks like from the top. They know how the product strategy looks like from the grassroots level, but it's not something that just happens. So please don't hire product managers thinking that they will be able to do all that unless you're willing to really invest in that person.
And have a managers in the make program, you know, a place where, yes, if you want to allow people to take on people managers roles for the first time, they get support, but then they're also able to, you know, step down after a minimum. I think there's a minimum period of time, say 6 months, to see if they're meant for that, because that's also something very scary. Many people go into becoming people's managers, they realize they're not meant for that. Everyone else too, but there's no plan to go back because it seemed bad from a reputation perspective, because the system is not built to allow you to move sideways or down again. And moving down is not necessarily wrong. It just means you tried, it didn't work. Allow it, because then what you do is you turn these terrible people managers into a thing they're gonna go wreak havoc wherever they go. And so they become managers by title, but they suck at it. The system doesn't have an opportunity for them to go in a different direction, and we just have created another monster. So many bad managers out there.
Yeah.
And
if you do want to try, and for whatever reason you can't, then keep trying. Keep trying to figure out what it is that you could leverage in your strengths, what it is that you're missing. Put your mind into figuring out how you could get there. Don't just give up, because there's a way.
But that is if you truly want it, because then there's also those who think they want it because it's the right way to grow. No, there's too many ways to grow. And just I'm gonna sound cheesy, but do follow your heart and your intuition. Because there's other ways to grow. You can grow in the amount of knowledge and the different skills that you have. You can grow by going working for different products. You can grow by working in different industries. Like, the only way to grow is not necessarily by getting a promotion where you get more responsibility. And I actually admire and respect the people who know that from the start, and they just, you know, go deep into their area of expertise. If they're specialists, I'm not a specialist by heart. I'm a generalist by heart. But some people know from the get-go that that's not the path they want to follow, and they're satisfied with that. So ask yourself, if you're going after a promotion and you want to lead people, where is this motivation coming from? What is internally coming from you that wants that? Is it just external validation? Is it the bigger salary? Because you're going to impact people's life. So you better have a deeper motivation than just external validation. Because people will also sense this when they report to you. So yeah, ask yourself, why do I truly want this? Can I satisfy my needs in a different way that is not putting at risk other people's careers and work-life balance.
Same goes for people who get offered these opportunities. Think about it. It's not the only way of getting validation that you are good at your job. If you're not a people manager and you actually don't want it, then maybe your gut feeling is right.
Yeah. And if you want to recognize someone and they don't want that, maybe they're afraid to say no. What other ways can you recognize them?
Yeah,
that doesn't put them in that difficult position of having to say yes to something they don't want.
I think we need more people managers that actually want to do what they do. More managers that want to be good managers above all.
Yeah.
Instead of just managers who do the job because nobody else will.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
So I think we've reached the end. So if you have any questions regarding this, or if you want to, I don't know, work your way up to be a people manager, or you don't know whether you do, then ask us questions.
Yeah, we actually are both independent consultants, mentors, advisors, visiting CPOs. So we can work with you in helping you figure things out if you are unsure how to go about things. And until next round, cheers.
Until next time. Bye.